Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. The rupee weakens below 78 to the dollar for the first time. The markets crashed this Monday. Nearly 7 lakh crores lost. LIC shares at a new low, almost 30% lower than the issue price. The good news is that the May inflation is down slightly from an 8-year high. Rahul's day-long questioning by the central agency, the Enforcement Directorate, he's still currently being questioned. Priyanka, Congress Chief Ministers, workers hold pan-India protests. Congress General Secretary Venugopal is manhandled by cops, says the Congress. The BJP says it's political drama. Why shouldn't Rahul Gandhi be questioned? The Delhi police says can't allow protests in central Delhi. Will Sharad Pawar be opposition's candidate for president? Is this the next ace by the master political strategist? Congress and Mamata Banerjee are in touch. A key opposition meet on Wednesday. AAP may not attend but are likely to support Sharad Pawar. The Delhi High Court says hate speech is a starting point of attacks. It says no FIR against Minister Anurag Thakur and MP Parvesh Verma, but strong words on their speeches by the High Court, saying those in high positions carry responsibility. COVID cases spike again, 81% cases from 4 states. Mumbai now reports new strains of COVID variants, but the severity is the same, say doctors. DJ and actor Shakti Kapoor is arrested in Bengaluru for drug use. Shakti Kapoor's son is arrested in a Bengaluru drug raid at a 5-star hotel. But our big headline tonight remains the economy, the markets and the rupee. Priyanshi has the latest on what's been, well, a disastrous Monday for the markets, but some better news on inflation, Priyanshi.
That's right, Sonia. As you said, a bloodbath in the markets today, but relieving news for our pockets. Inflation has cooled from its 8-year high of 7.79% in the month of April. Retail inflation has eased to 7.04% in May. And you might wonder what really changed in this 1 month. Interestingly, the urban population didn't see much of a relief. Urban inflation was in fact 7.08%, almost the same as 7.09% in April. What really took down the inflation figure is rural inflation, which witnessed a sharp decline from 8.38% in April to 7.01% in May. So almost all the price relief was felt in rural India. Now, other possible reasons behind the relief are fuel excise duty cuts by the central government and a rate hike by the Reserve Bank in the month of May. Now, food inflation is down to 7.97% compared to 8.31% last month. But it's important to note that we're not in a comfortable state just yet. Inflation is still very high compared to May last year when it stood at 6.3%. It's still much above RBI's comfort level of 6%. In fact, it has been above 6% for the past 5 months. And as we know, the Reserve Bank expects inflation to stay above 6% till December. So the worst might not be over just yet. Now let's look at the categories that are hurting budgets the most. The prices of essentials for all of us. Fuel and light inflation is at the highest at 9.5%, followed by clothing and footwear at 8.8%, followed by food and beverages at 7.8%. Now, soaring prices mean that the same amount of your money can now buy less goods. But your money is losing its value in another way as well. Rupee tanked to a record low of 78 against the dollar today. Now, this is the first time the rupee has gone beyond 78 per dollar. Our currency has been consistently losing its value since January this year and down by 4.8% since January. Now, why is this happening? Global fears of sharp rate hikes and further inflation are dragging foreign funds out of India and raising the demand of the dollar, which is seen as a secure currency. This has taken the dollar to a 2-decade high, hence reducing the value of the rupee in comparison. Now, right amid summer vacations, this means that our foreign travel gets more expensive, along with education and also our imports, Sonia.
Right, and of course, what we saw today also, Priyanshi, was a complete bloodbath in the markets. And one worry for investors, of course, that LIC also now, I mean, a trusted PSU, the stock is hitting a record low every day.
Right, Sonia, it has been a much talked about stock and, as you said, hitting a record low every day. But overall today, markets tanked over 2.6% and investors in fact lost over 6.6 lakh crore just today. Sensex lost 1,456 points to end at 52,846, while Nifty lost 427 points to settle at 15,774. And a much talked about stock, LIC tanked to its record low today. LIC shares went down to 669 rupees, which is 30% lower than its issue price of 949. Now, this was because the lock-in period for anchor investors ended today and they could now sell their holdings. But why the overall market slump today is a question. A sharp US Fed rate hike of close to 75 basis points is expected this week as the United States hit a 40-year high inflation. And as we know, whatever happens in the United States sends tremors across the globe, including India. So today was a disappointing start to the week for the markets with expectations of more shocks this week. Sonia.
Thanks, Priyanshi. Well, I said the shocks the economy's had this week, not just India, but globally this year, has really been something. So let's see what happens after this US Fed rate hikes. Thanks so much for that very clear explanation. But in India, of course, the political shocks today were being felt for the Congress as Congress leader Rahul Gandhi was being questioned at the Enforcement Directorate. His questioning began at around 11 o'clock this morning. He took a break for lunch and to go and visit his mother, Sonia Gandhi, in hospital. After that, was straight back to the Enforcement Directorate. And in fact, Rahul Gandhi is still being questioned as we speak. So let's go across first to Arvind, who is at the Enforcement Directorate office. Now, Arvind, a day-long questioning there. It's still actually on. And of course, the optics of protests by the Congress, which have arranged protests across India. We've seen his sister Priyanka Gandhi dropping him there. And also the fact that he went to meet his mother at Gangaram Hospital this afternoon as well. What are the political optics being played out today as we speak, and the questioning carrying on for so long?
Yeah, Sonia, it's almost 8 hours of questioning by the Enforcement Directorate for Rahul Gandhi in the National Herald case. Rahul Gandhi appeared before the Enforcement Directorate officials close to somewhere around 11:30 a.m. and his questioning went on till somewhere around 2:30 p.m. That is almost 3 hours of questioning in the first half of the day, and he was given a lunch break of 1 hour wherein he went to the Gangaram Hospital to meet his mother, who is being treated at the hospital for COVID-related illness, post which he again promptly appeared before the agency officials to join the investigation, and the questioning is still underway. It's already almost 8 p.m. and the questioning has almost crossed almost 8 hours of questioning today alone. So what we are being told is that the agency officials are grilling him, asking him to record a statement in written regarding all the related transactions, let it be in the Young Indian Limited, where he is having 38% shareholding, along with the Associated Journal Limited.
Because
the main allegation being that the Young Indian Limited took over the assets of this particular company.
We saw today, Arvind, that the BJP Smriti Irani minister introduced a new angle, saying that there's a Calcutta-based Hawala company which Rahul Gandhi must answer questions on. The Congress and Rahul Gandhi maintained that not even 1 paisa, 1 rupee has been exchanged in this transaction. So do you know anything what the focus of the questioning today is on?
Yeah, Sonia, that's a very important point, wherein the Enforcement Directorate is saying that though this particular company, Young Indian Limited, was constituted or incorporated by the Gandhi family, let it be Sonia Gandhi with 38% stake and Rahul Gandhi with the 38% stake, both of them holding the majority stake of 76%. That's where the Enforcement Directorate is saying that there have been Hawala-related transactions in this particular company. But the Congress party is saying that this particular company was set up under Section 25 of the Companies Act, which is a not-for-profit company. This is a philanthropy or a social cause, more like a trust company, wherein the shareholders cannot take any dividend. That is, no shareholder can take even a penny from this particular company. And all this allegation of this particular Gandhi family taking over 800 crore worth assets of Associated Journal Limited is baseless, merely on this particular point that this is a not-for-profit company. And they have also questioned how the Enforcement Directorate initiated a probe into this particular case when there is no FIR, when there is no scheduled offence. And this is the first time in the history of PMLA Act wherein the Enforcement Directorate has taken cognizance of a private complaint and has initiated a money laundering probe, and that's why the Congress party is calling it as a case of political vendetta. And
of course today, Arvind, also this a court has sent Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain to 2 weeks of judicial custody. So that's 2 weeks jail. Now that's a setback in a sense for AAP, because of the AAP has been claiming that courts will actually not do this, that they'll appeal to higher courts. How has he actually got 2 weeks of judicial custody?
Yeah, Sonia, and a big setback for Satyendra Jain, the Delhi Health Minister, has been sent to judicial custody of 14 days, that is to Tihar jail. Usually judicial custodies are always of 14 days. Unless until he gets a bail, this particular judicial custody will get automatically extended. That is, whenever he is produced before the court will again send him to 14 days custody. So he has to get bail before the competent court, and what we are being told is that though he has already filed the bail application, his loyal legal team will be pressing for the hearing of the bail application. They are very confident that soon he will be getting bail, though the 13 days of ED custody is over. That's why he has been sent to judicial custody, that is to Tihar jail for 14 days.
Right, and in fact, the opposition are saying that it can be no coincidence that it's only opposition leaders who seem to be under the scanner of central agencies. Meanwhile, let's just look at what happened today with the whole politics of it, because really, as the Congress had their show of strength, so did BJP ministers come out in full strength to attack the Gandhis.
With his sister Priyanka by his side and scores of Congress leaders hitting the streets, Congress MP Rahul Gandhi walked into the office of the Enforcement Directorate in Delhi, where he was questioned in connection with the National Herald case. A few hundred meters away, Congress leaders like General Secretary K.C. Venugopal were manhandled by the Delhi police as they protested the summons to Rahul Gandhi. The police had put prohibitory orders in place around the ED headquarters, denying the Congress permission to hold a protest march, citing the communal and law and order situation and VVIP movements. Several other Congress leaders, including MPs and Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot, were detained at the Tughlaq Road police station as they tried to march to the ED office. Priyanka Gandhi landed up in solidarity.
एक तरफ राहुल गांधी जी और सोनिया जी के ऊपर जो ईडी के छापे डाले या उनको नोटिस दिए वो बिल्कुल गलत है, कोई तुक नहीं है, कोई आधार नहीं है। दूसरा जो लोग आए पूरे मुल्क से वो बताने के लिए आए पूरे मुल्क का मिजाज क्या है, सच्चाई क्या है, लोग क्या समझ रहे हैं ईडी के बारे में, सीबी के बारे में, इनकम टैक्स के छापों के बारे में।
उनका तरीका ही है कि सारी एजेंसियों को इस्तेमाल करने का। जब भी वो कोने में होते हैं, कभी कोई उनका स्पोक्सपर्सन गलत बोलता है और माहौल ख़राब होता है देश भर में, तो उसको छुपाने के लिए या तो मेरा नाम इस्तेमाल किया जाएगा या मेरे परिवार के किसी सदस्य का।
The Congress has made the summons to the Gandhis an all-out political issue, targeting the ED for only questioning opposition leaders. The party held nationwide protests today in states like MP, UP, Maharashtra, Assam and Kerala. It drew an angry retort from the BJP, which fielded Smriti Irani.
मैं देश को बतलाना चाहूंगी कि ये लोकतंत्र को बचाने का प्रयास नहीं है, गांधी खानदान की 2000 करोड़ की संपत्ति को बचाने का प्रयास है।
The ED's probe is about alleged financial irregularities in the Young Indian Private Limited and Associated Journals Limited that owns the National Herald newspaper. The Congress has denied any wrongdoing and calls the probe a witch hunt.
Since 2016, most of the political leaders summoned or arrested by the Enforcement Directorate are from the opposition parties. Also, the conviction rate of the agency is also very poor, with just 25 cases seeing conviction as on date out of 5,422 cases registered by the agency so far. Sonia Gandhi, who is currently being treated at Gangaram Hospital for COVID-related illness, has also been summoned by the agency for questioning on June 23rd. With Sukirti Dwivedi and camera person Sanjay Kaushik, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
Well, staying with politics in the background, what's actually happening as the next big face-off between the government and the opposition is the presidential poll. And will there be Pawar play here? Sanket has the latest.
So the race for Raisina Hill has now begun. This is the race for the president elections. But in the opposition camp, is there a fair degree of Pawar play? Will the Maratha strongman Sharad Pawar be the opposition's candidate? Well, Congress President Sonia Gandhi has sent an emissary to NCP Chief Sharad Pawar. Senior Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge met NCP Chief Sharad Pawar. Kharge also spoke to Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray and Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. Kharge had met Pawar on Thursday with a message from Sonia Gandhi, and the Shiv Sena could it also throw its weight behind Sharad Pawar, which is highly likely as of this moment, given that Sharad Pawar is from Maharashtra and traditionally the Shiv Sena has gone for a candidate from Maharashtra. Now Kharge also spoke to West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee over the phone. Mamata Banerjee has called for a meeting at the Constitution Club on the 15th of June Aam Aadmi Party Sanjay Singh also met the NCP chief Sharad Pawar on Sunday. So if you keep these things in mind, one would get a fair amount of idea, could this all be leading to Sharad Pawar's name as the consensus candidate of the opposition for the post of president. But a fair degree of response from the government as well, from the BJP. The BJP has authorized JP Nadda and Rajnath Singh to hold discussions. Now these discussions will take place with not just NDA but UPA constituents as well. There is an attempt to build a consensus on the candidate. Now if you recall, in 2017 BJP had nominated Mr Rajnath Singh and Venkaiah Naidu for this exercise. Later Venkaiah Naidu was named the NDA's vice presidential candidate. Now in case of no consensus, the BJP is also preparing for elections where they will have their own candidate. Now there is speculation around many names, but no one has been confirmed by the party. Let's now look at the math as far as the presidential polls are concerned. On the basis of electoral college, votes of MLAs and MPs constitute this electoral college. The vote value of each MLA actually varies. It depends on the state population and the number of assembly seats. The total electoral votes are 4,809, which is a combination of MPs and MLAs, and the strength of the electoral college is 10,86,431. The candidates who crosses the 50% mark in the election wins and becomes the president. Now NDA is 13,000 votes away from that majority mark, and in 2017 they were short, but the TRS, YSR Congress and the Biju Janata Dal supported the NDA candidate. Will they do that this time around is a suspense.
Sanket, thanks so much for that update. The TRS, of course, now launching its own national front against the government, so they're unlikely to support. But of course, the big question is the opposition wants a political candidate, perhaps someone like Mr Pawar, because of his ability to influence friends across political parties too. But of course, the BJP also passed master at that. Thanks so much for joining us. Meanwhile, the Delhi High Court today expressed concerns over alleged hate speeches made by Minister Anurag Thakur and MP Pravesh Verma of the BJP. Mr Thakur and Mr Verma were both accused of hate speech during the 2020 Delhi elections. The Delhi High Court, however, said that they will not file a case, that they will not clear a case to be filed against the two MPs and minister, but said they were concerned, adding that the hate speech leads to attacks on a community and that those in power must act responsibly. The Delhi High Court said hate speech targeted at a particular community and it violates constitutional norms, with people in high positions like Anurag Thakur and Pravesh Verma having a greater responsibility. However, they turned down CPIM leader Brinda Kharat's plea for a case to be filed against them for hate speech. The other big headline, well, COVID is increasing. Daily COVID cases all India have doubled in a week. In fact, the 7-day average of daily cases has actually tripled in 4 weeks. The biggest focus is really on Maharashtra, with 81% of all India cases coming from just 4 states, and Maharashtra, Kerala, Karnataka and Delhi are the top 4 states.
Life has returned to normal, but COVID seems to be back again. Cases have spiked in Maharashtra, Kerala, Karnataka and Delhi. A worried health ministry has written to these states, as 81% of COVID cases are being reported from here. On 3rd June, the country reported 2,363 COVID cases and the infection rate was less than 1% at 0.95%. 10 days later, on 13th June, 8,084 cases have been reported, a jump of 242%. Active cases increased by 128%. And the infection rate has jumped to 3.24%. The financial capital, Mumbai, has seen the biggest spike. Mumbai's daily cases increased by 136% in the last 10 days, and the infection rate has increased from 7% to 11.32%. According to Mumbai's civic body, the BMC, the daily admission of COVID patients in Mumbai's hospitals have increased from 37 to 111. That is a 200% increase in 10 days. Experts say the cases still seem to be driven by the Omicron variant of the virus and its subvariants.
जो हमारे जीनोम सीक्वेंसिंग के रिपोर्ट्स हैं वो हमें BA1 या BA2 और थोड़े बहुत BA4 BA5 केसेस के बारे में बता रहे हैं, दिखा रहे हैं अभी। तो ये इस वक्त की सिचुएशन है। इस सिचुएशन को डायनामिक स्वरूप से देखते हुए रोज के रोज हमें रिव्यू करने की जरूरत है। जीनोम सीक्वेंसिंग करते रहना चाहिए, और अगर हॉस्पिटल या सिम्टम पैटर्न, हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन या सिम्टम पैटर्न में कोई अगर बदलाव दिखता है तो तो उसके बारे में हम तुरंत एक्शन लेनी होगी।
The key thing that doctors are keeping a keen eye on is the severity of the infections. In Mumbai with Pooja Bhardwaj, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
In other news, Bollywood was a big focus when actor Shah Rukh Khan's son Aryan was arrested. He was cleared 3 months later, but now in focus is DJ and actor Siddhant Kapoor, the son of Shakti Kapoor and the brother of Shraddha Kapoor. He was arrested at a party, a rave in Bengaluru 5-star hotel, which was raided by the police. The police say medical reports show that 5 people, including Siddhant Kapoor, had consumed drugs.
In a sensational drug party bus case, Bollywood actor Shakti Kapoor's son Siddhant Kapoor was detained by Bengaluru police on Sunday late night for consuming drugs. Siddhant, who is a professional DJ, was invited by the pub organizer. Based on a tip-off that drugs were being consumed, Siddhant along with 4 others were arrested after they had tested positive for drugs.
We have one person by name Siddhant Kapoor, who supposedly is Shakti Kapoor's son, in our custody.
Also, did you find any drugs in their possession?
In their possession, no, but in the premises we found MDMA tablets and ganja.
As a part of a continuous crackdown on drug menace, the raid took place inside a pub at the Park Hotel located on MG Road in the heart of the city. And among the 35 tested for consumption of drugs, 5 tested positive. We understand 5 people have been taken into custody. Interrogation is on, and also the police confirms to us that they have been registered under the NDPS Act of 22A, 22B and 27B. Also further investigations are on with respect to Siddhant Kapoor, who is the son of Shakti Kapoor, as to understand how long he's been here in Bangalore, because at this very party he was playing the DJ, and at the time of the raid we understand the police also says that all the 5, they did not really have they were not in possession of the drugs, but they had consumed drugs, and that they had tested positive. Out of 35 of the samples that were sent, 5 came out positive. This includes Shakti Kapoor's son Siddhant Kapoor. In Bengaluru with camera person Kumar, Shrija for NDTV.